Hello, this is Neil, the art instructor at masterpaintingnow.com, where you can find hundreds of free drawing and painting tutorials. So check it out, the link's in the description. Let's get started on how to draw fantasy armor. Now, as with anything, when you need to learn how to draw something, you need to know the fundamentals, right? Like if you want to draw human figures, you want to draw manga, or you want to draw, or manga, you want to draw, comic book type characters, cartoon characters. You need to know the fundamentals. That is, how to draw the human figure. Well, the same thing with anything, right? If you want to know how to draw cars, you have to learn how to draw the basics. What makes up a car? If you want to learn how to draw guns, you need to know the basics. What makes up a gun? The parts that make up a gun. If you want to draw clothing like a T-shirt, you need to know the basics. What makes up a T-shirt, right? Without knowing those basics, it'd be kind of hard to like draw T-shirts from your mind and design them. And I think when I get requests for how to draw fantasy armor, and some I get a lot of it's fantasy armor. Sometimes I just get how to draw like you know medieval armor. That's rare. Sometimes I get people requesting how to draw like futuristic type armor, like in Gears of War and stuff like that. So when it comes to drawing armor, it's really the same thing with everything. You have to learn how to draw the fundamentals. And that's what we're going to learn here. And so what I'm not going to do is be like, okay, so first we start out, we start to design our character here, our figure, and we put the character in there, and then we're gonna have arms come down, and we'll have the rib cage, and then we'll have the legs come off this way, and then we're gonna start designing the armor onto this, and we're not gonna do it that way. We're not gonna like just draw as I talk, because that's not gonna teach you anything. Rather, we're gonna learn the parts of the armor, the basic armor, kind of a little bit about what it was for, and then we'll get into how to take that design and how to manipulate it and turn it into more fantasy-like armor. This is just one example of a more fantasy-type armor, kind of futuristic fantasy, and there's different kinds of armor you can do. But I think that's what they're asking is not, hey, how do I draw armor? I don't think they're just asking, let's just draw armor step by step, because that's not going to teach you how to like draw your own armor, to draw your own characters, right? If I just draw real quickly and say, okay, now we're drawing this part in the helmet and so forth, and we draw one set of armor from one direction, that's not going to teach you how to like design your own armor. So I think what people are asking is, how do I design my own armor? And that really comes into understanding the basics and how to tweak those things. And I really want to make a whole course on this kind of subject, that is concept art. That really comes down to designing characters, designing armor, designing clothes. 'Cause that's what concept art's all about. And there's different skill sets there. One skill set is how to draw, but not everyone that knows how to draw is a good designer. So not everyone that knows how to draw can be a good concept artist. To be a good concept artist, you really have to have that design aspect in you, how to design things. But I'm gonna teach you like a little bit about how to design armor, and hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a good grasp on designing armor. You can start designing your own armor and drawing armor, whatever kind of armor you want, whether it be fantasy armor or some other kind of armor, for your characters. So first thing is the different parts of the armor. So you have your greaves here, and the greaves are right here. You can also see the greaves on this character. They're strapped on, so the greaves is not the whole entire glove always. Sometimes it is. Sometimes the greave will come all the way down, and like this one here, and it's actually metal all the way down here. And then this is more like a mitten, um, like this, and it comes across and it has more metal that will come across this way, allowing him to bend his fingers. And so that's a solid greave where it's like a whole entire glove. Or excuse me, not greave. Greave is your the leg part down here. Sorry, I meant the gauntlet. So sometimes the gauntlet is one whole piece, covers the entire hand. And sometimes it covers each individual finger, and each individual finger will be covered with like armor that kind of goes like this, and then has hinges in here, allowing each piece to bend as it's covering the different parts of your finger, so you can bend your whole hand and it's covered with metal. But other greaves, or not greaves, sorry, gauntlets, like this gauntlet here, you can see it only covers the wrist area. It doesn't go all the way around the wrist. Some might go all the way around the wrist. And this, you need to be able to still like bend your arm and move your arm around a little bit and flex your arm. So this will have like leather straps or some other kind of material. If it's more futuristic fantasy, it might not be leather. Might be Cavalier or who knows what it is, but they're very strong straps. And on over here in this, you can see the straps go underneath. And then there's another piece of like either leather or some other kind of either very protective Kevlar, whatever kind of material it is. If it's old school, it's gonna be more leather. And this is underneath, or even metal, and that's a separate piece right there that is connecting underneath here and kind of straps on with some kind of tie, and then this goes on over it. So it's kind of like two pieces, one protecting the bottom part of your arm and the one protecting the top part of your arm. The top part of your arm being the more protective part, the thicker metal. Right, so that's the first piece there is the the gauntlet. Then you have what's called the vambrace, and the vambrace really can go from like all the way up here to all the way down here. It's the part that goes underneath the arm and it covers the arm basically. Um, then you have the part that's called the cotor or the cotor, and this is the usually it has it's designed different ways. He doesn't have one in his armor, so you can leave certain parts out when you're designing armor, but it's a part that covers your elbow and allows you to bend. So there's usually a dent right here, and there's like two pieces, a piece here and the piece on the other side, and they kind of bend. They have a back piece back here, almost like a elbow piece, and it covers your elbow, but allows you to bend your arm, not a whole lot. You're kind of restricted in movement. That's the downside of it, but it does protect your whole arm there. So again, the original purpose of armor was to protect your entire body. Now I know some people are like, hey, this is already 5 minutes in the video, and all he's doing is explaining different parts of the armor. Well, it's important. Just like knowing how to design a t-shirt, you have to know how it's made and how it's put together first before you're going to start designing and drawing your own t-shirt. So, how to draw a t-shirt is more than just, hey, this is how you draw a t-shirt. So you have the neck, you have the neck piece, and then you have the arms, the sleeves coming off. You have the stitching here, and then you have the sleeves coming off here. And you have the overall piece come down here. That doesn't teach anything. You have the collar. If I were just to do that and go, okay, go through all t-shirts, you haven't learned nothing at all, right? But if I taught you what makes up a t-shirt and how it goes together, then you can not only design your own t-shirts, you can start designing other shirts like long sleeve shirts and start designing off of that. And that's what hopefully this course is going to do for you with armor. Right, then you have the what's called the pauldron. It's also the part that covers your shoulder. Typically, it usually drapes over from all the way into front here, sometimes even bigger than this, and will drape and come all the way over the back, and it'll go to the back side of your body, covering basically your whole part of your deltoid. That is your whole entire shoulder, part of your bicep, your arm, part of your breastplate or your breast, and then part of your back, your shoulder blade. And they come in different sizes, and here you got like double ones. You can have like triple ones where you have like one here, then a smaller one stacked underneath that, even a smaller one stacked underneath that to give this kind of cool effect. We'll get into that a little bit. And then you have the breastplate. The breastplate is this entire part here that's underneath the pauldrons. That would be considered your whole entire breastplate, and you can actually design it to more to where it kind of fits into. And this is kind of what I kind of designed a little bit, and based off some stuff, and also designed it, kind of took some ideas from different inspirations, and then went and designed. I kind of like the way I designed the chest plate. It's kind of fitting into the musculature of the pec. So, and then also coming down here to the rib cage, which is kind of cool. And then you have the part called the fold. Kind of sounds like fold, and this would be this part here. Usually goes from down to like about here, like that. And it's usually like folded piece of metal overlapping each other, or it can also be leather, and that's to like protect that midsection. And then you'll have the tassette, these parts here coming off. That's sometimes it's all one piece with the fold, just kind of this whole one metal piece right here. On this character here, you can see that he has something similar to a fold here, which is kind of like a belt, and he has this big buckle here also protecting his front side and his groin area. And then he has, again, the tassettes coming off the side, which would be metal. And I forgot to do the circles over here. Obviously, part of designing armor, sorry, is more than just, hey, functionality, make sure it works, make sure it protects the body. But mainly it's like how to make my character look cool, right? And that's what this is more designing, how to make your character look cool. And that's what I'm going to get into after we understand the basic parts that make up the armor. And then you have the pauline, which is basically the part that protects your knees. And usually it's kind of similar to the elbow. You have this like front part, and then there's a back part that comes usually like this. This is protecting the back of your knee, like that. And then there's a hinge here, so you can bend your knee, but you don't have a lot more movement than other than kind of just bending your knee. So old school armor really kind of limited how much movement you have, and then that's why it's like it's a reward and take system. So you take certain parts off. Yeah, you can move faster, run faster, move easier, but you're also more vulnerable. You can get your leg cut off easier and so forth. And then you have the I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's the kose. And this is the metal part here. It's usually metal that goes, and it kind of goes up underneath the tassette there. And this goes a little bit underneath even here. and this goes wraps around the leg, and it'll usually only wrap a part around the leg, and the back part will be strapped on. Sometimes if you had a full like piece of metal, you wouldn't be able to put it on, right? How would you get it over all your leg and everything? So unless it was big enough to fit over your knee and your foot and all that good stuff, so it would strap on somewhere in the back, and then you might have another piece of metal too. So kind of similar to this here. So in the back of your leg, you might have like a thin piece of leather or Kevlar or you know chainmail or something like that, and then that would be strapped onto your leg. And then on the front of your leg, you have this metal piece, and it's coming and it's wrapping, around like this, and it's stopping somewhere around here. That way you can put it on, and off. And then it's strapped like this and like this. So there's two different pieces, one in the back leg, one in the front leg, coming together, similar to the two pieces here. And then you have the what's it called? Your greave. Now your greave can be your entire foot here. It can all be one like big boot piece. You can also call it like your boot. It can just be like this here is all just like one. His greave is all one big boot piece, all built together, just be big and buff. Whereas this one's like a separate. You have the greave comes down to the ankles, stops, and then you have a separate boot that you wear underneath that, which can have a mixture of metal and leather and it just depends. I think it's called the Sabaton in old school. Of course, then you have your helmet or your helm, and then you sometimes you have what's called the comb that goes on the top of the helmet here, like a blade. Um, and then of course you might have a visor for whatever reason to, block out rain and stuff like that. I'm not sure what the point of a visor was in old school armor. Obviously, you want as little of your face exposed as possible, so it's hard to like stab you in the face. But you need to be able to see out your armor too, and that's also give and take. So the less you cover, or the more you cover, the less you can see, the harder it is to see, but the more you're protected. And then you have the gorget, which is this whole part here that covers your neck, and it's usually like built of metal pieces or strong leather or something, but usually like metal pieces like tacked onto each other so it has some flexibility and hinges. And then I think that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, and part of the pauldron, you have usually these kind of blades that come up like this, and they come up and they stick off, and that's for like if someone were to swipe a sword at your head or get in there, this right here blocks it. You just naturally blocks you even lifting your arm up, and it blocks that part of your neck from being hit by the sword. And so it's not just for looks, but looks, it does look cool as well. Right, so then you can take these different parts when you draw them and style them out. So first you want to learn, to draw and design these different parts onto the body. You can do it in layers or in stages, and we'll do that in just a second. And then you can start to design it to where it becomes different parts. And that's where, design really takes, it's hard to teach someone how to have the imagination to design. I'll do my best, but it really comes into stylizing. And so with stylizing, just like if I teach you how to draw a human figure, you can stylize that human figure. You can be like, well, I'm gonna tweak stuff. That stylizing comes into contorting things, to distorting things. I guess it's kind of the same thing. To making things larger, to exaggerating them, to minimalizing them. A mixture of all this kind of stuff. So you might have like a small head here in your figure, but then maybe you're gonna have big trapezius, and let's say you're gonna have a really big, breast muscles that come out, pec muscles, and then kind of like normal size deltoids here. And this is all, stylizing. So you're starting then big wings coming down like this, and then small abs. Right, so you're starting to design, and then a long torso, little love handles. This, you're starting to design this character is really long, and therefore you need long arms to kind of compensate for that. Right, and these are really high pec muscles. Maybe really big forearms. Right, big hands. So this is all stylizing. This is something you can do if you understand the basics of the human figure. Well, the same thing with armor. You can take armor and apply it in that same way, where you're exaggerating certain parts, distorting certain other parts, and then making up other parts that are functionable, but kind of the same idea based on this principle here. Right, so let's go ahead and start getting into how we can start tweaking this out as we draw it onto a figure. Oh, and keep in mind that as you design armor, you don't have to have every single piece on here. You might just have, the shoulder pieces, and then maybe boots, and then maybe, the greaves, and then maybe your gauntlets, and that's it. And then maybe you might have some sort of breastplate or belt sash thing, and that might be the totality of the armor. So, it's protecting some major vital parts, but not necessarily protect everything. And then you might cover the rest of it with like strong Kevlar if it's more futuristic, or chainmail or leather or something like that. So, also, you want to go for the cool factor, right? So when you're designing fantasy armor, it's not just about, you know, how does it protect you? Do you even want it to be functional? Do you even care if it looks functional? Really you're caring about looks, right? When you're doing fantasy armor usually. And fantasy armor can do anything from, it depends on whether it's kind of like futuristic fantasy or old school fantasy, but protect you from magic, protect you because it's magical, armor. So it can protect you from magical beams and fireballs and ice balls and all kinds of stuff. It can protect you from bullets or just about anything. So it doesn't really matter how it looks in the ultimate runs. It's as far as effectiveness, you want to make it look cool. I think that's the ultimate goal, and that's what we're going to get into. And of course, it's very important that you already know how to draw the human figure from imagination. If you can't, bang on a figure real easily, then it's gonna be very difficult to draw armor onto that figure because if you're having struggling drawing the figure, how are you gonna put the armor onto him? And drawing armor onto a figure is very similar to drawing clothes onto a figure. So there's two steps you need to know already before you really get into drawing armor. That is, learn how to draw the figure well, and then learn how to draw clothes and put clothes on a figure. Once you know how to do that, then applying armor to the figure is a very similar thing. It's just understanding the shapes of the armor, how it works, and how it fits on the body, which we're going to get into, and then we can take that and design it into whatever we want to design it into. So maybe we'll take some more simple female armor, knowing these different parts we have now, and let's start to put in the basic shapes for the human body. We'll do like a basic kind of front standing pose for now. Right, so I'm not really explaining what I'm doing right here because this is the point, you want to be at this point already before you start this, this lesson is you want to be able to draw the figure from your imagination without having to think about it much or, obviously be told how to do it. Think about making it happen one leg kind of stepping forward just a little bit. So something like that. Now we're just going to build armor on top of this. So now it's about how do we build the armor? How do we put armor on top of a figure? So let's kind of zoom in here a bit. Let's maybe kind of just flesh out the character a little bit more here. Something like so. We have our love handles here. Come up into our figure. Alright, so there we have the basic female figure. And then maybe well, obviously we gotta have breasts, right? If we have a female figure, you can't have breasts. You can't have a female figure without breasts. I mean, I guess you can, but it'd be kind of strange, wouldn't it? And so since you're designing armor, you can really just stick with something very basic like this. You don't have to have anything that's very detailed. Just a basic mannequin's enough to start putting your armor on top of. Right, so the first part is the shoulder parts, or it's not necessarily shoulders. I'm not going to always use the names of stuff because I don't have all that stuff memorized, and I don't think there's any reason to memorize that to be able to draw stuff. But basically, we're going to be drawing the part that guards the shoulder, which we had learned is called the whatever it's called. What the hell is it called? I have it here somewhere. I'm forgetting the name of it now. The pauldron, sorry. So the pauldron is this thing that wraps over the body. So let's look at the figure here from the side view as well, and let's just kind of give a basic. Maybe I should kind of make it kind of match up in size here. Right, so something like that. Right, so when you think about the pauldron, it's going to wrap around the shoulder here. So first it's going to come over in the front, and it just depends on how much of the shoulder you want it to cover, but typically it would come like this and cover part of the arm here. And you can, always design this to where it has different parts of it. It can have another piece that stacks on top here, and this can have like spikes if you want it to. This is all where you get into the designing part. But first, this is the basicness of it. Then you can even have, further a couple other pieces of metal coming out underneath here like that. Or you can have this, stop higher and then have a couple other pieces of metal like overlapping each other, and these will have hinges inside so that they can bend and flex so they can move your arm up and down more. It's going to continue as it comes over, that part of the breast. It's going to continue to come over the shoulder like so, and then it's going to go into the back, right? It's going to go around into the back. And so if you have then the back side, so let's try to I'm going to somewhat keep this. I know I made this one a little bit smaller, so let's go ahead and make her just a tad bit bigger here. And I know a lot of people have been wondering and asking, hey, what are you going to be doing next? What's the next courses coming out after this, whiteboard animation course? That would be to a manga crash course. So strictly dealing with, the aspects of manga. That'll be the next one. So if you're interested, that's probably the next course I'll be coming out after the whiteboard animation course. And then I might also have a course on, I know a lot of people have been waiting for this for a long time, a course on how to draw, oops, that's like getting all huge there, on how to draw backgrounds and animation, or not backgrounds animation, backgrounds and landscapes. Kind of the same thing, but just in case people aren't sure, what's what I mean by what, then right. So then it's going to come and it's going to wrap around the back part of the body like this. It usually comes and connects somewhere around this midsection here, like this, and it wraps around the shoulder. And you might have, like I said, a couple pieces there, and it's going to come and wrap something like this. That's usually the typical way that that piece wraps around. And I know this might seem boring to some people, like, oh, come on, man, just freaking tell me how to draw armor. This is how you draw armor. I mean, it's like you tell someone, tell me how to draw a car. You can't just be like, well, this is how you draw a car. You draw the wheels, and then you draw this middle piece here, and then you're gonna have the door in here, and you're gonna have the back part and the bumper, and then the lights and all that. And you're gonna have the windshield, and then you're gonna have this back part here, the back thing, and then you're gonna have the front hood. And I don't know, maybe this is kind of a cooler. I don't know if it's necessarily cool, but kind of this cartoon look here. Um, and that's it. That's how you draw a car. I know it's very quick, and it's kind of just a cartoony looking thing, but it's more than that. You can't just do that. That doesn't teach anyone anything. How you draw a UFO? Well, you start with the saucer type shape, and then you draw the thing on top of it, and inside there's gonna be some gadgets, and there's gonna be like the landing gear and this bottom part, and landing gear is gonna come off like this, and that doesn't teach anyone anything. You have to understand the mechanics of what makes up what you're drawing. So you need to know the different parts of a vehicle in order to draw a vehicle right from your mind if you want to design vehicles. And I think that's what people mean is how to design vehicles. And if you just want to know how to draw a vehicle from side view, then I can teach you that. It's like really quickly. Draw the wheels like that. And there's a lot of videos out there like that, but they don't really teach anything. And so I try to avoid that because I want to be able to teach people how to once they learn this, once you learn what I'm teaching here, this is like a real art lesson. This is like going to university and learning something for real. You're going to be able to take this knowledge when you're done with this course, excuse me, when you're done with this lesson, which I offer you for totally for free. And I just want to really quickly here, if you guys don't mind, if I can just kind of rant for just a moment. The reason why I started this YouTube channel way back in like 2006 was to offer good tutorials and art lessons for free that just aren't out there anywhere else. And now, luckily for us, there are more artists now coming out that are also good teachers, and they're starting to offer free teaching on YouTube. That's awesome, you know, and some of them actually can teach, like Glenn Vilppu, although he doesn't offer much free stuff. And there are some others too that actually have a pretty good teaching talent. So, you know, being able to learn takes a good teacher, and that's why I started the YouTube channel in the first place, was to offer what was not out there. Especially in 2006, there was like nothing out there on YouTube. Everything was like, all right, watch me draw. I'm drawing the head, and you want to like, you want to divide it and stuff, because that's what I learned, and so just do it. And you know, the eyes go like three, you know, there are three eyeballs. There's an eyeball in between them, and then there's like a half eyeball on each side. So it's about, you know, five eyes across, and then, you know, just draw the nose about here. You know, you kind of like divide this section in half again almost, and you have the nose, and then, you know, the mouth doesn't fit somewhere in this area here, because hey, that's how I was taught to do it. I don't know why it's that way, but it just is. So just do it. And that doesn't really teach you much. Like, sure, you might like learn the measurements and stuff, but if you learn rather the mechanics of the face, and again, like if you want to see a real face tutorial, you know, watch I have a few face tutorials actually. You learn the mechanics of the whys and the hows, and then you understand, oh, now I know why the face is drawn that way, why it is I divide this way and that way. You learn what makes up the face in the proper way. Then you can design the head from your imagination, draw from imagination, and design different faces, and you know, make some of them that have different character and stuff like that. And so that's what I'm gonna do here with this armor. Sorry, there was a little side rant there, but so that's how it fits, and it's understanding it from these like three-dimensional aspect that helps you fully understand what the armor is and how it works. So that's what this particular part does. So the the pauldron, I'm gonna call it shoulder pad, you know, like in a football. It kind of serves the same purpose as a shoulder pad in football. And you can, I've actually seen armor that's designed to kind of look like a football uniform, but you know, with more spikes and stuff like that. And so you can take inspiration from all over to get your fantasy stuff. With fantasy stuff, you might really look at a lot of Asian type clothing, and we're going to kind of add some Asian type clothing to this armor here once we're done with it. So that's the basic idea of the armor, right? Of the pauldron. And then you have the, you know, the breastplate. And so the basic idea of the breastplate is that, well, first you have the other part too. I forget what it was called, the part that went around the neck. What was that called? I can't remember. I forget. Sorry. This stuff, I just learned it for this course really, well, not for this lesson really quick, to be honest. So anyway, it's the part that covers the neck here, and who cares? Just call it the neck piece. And it goes like that, right? And that can serve all different kind of purposes, and that wraps around the neck. Now underneath that, then you have your actual breastplate, which is usually two different pieces. You got to think about, like, realistically, how are you going to put on a breastplate that's made of metal, right? If it was like just one solid piece of metal like this, and kind of went out like this, had holes for the arms, like this, and maybe it has some cool design here for the thing, and then it has some, you know, designs like this. Anyway, it comes down, and if it's just, you know, one solid piece of metal, how are you supposed to get this thing on? Well, that's just it. It's not one solid piece of metal. It's two pieces of metal. You take that, you cut it in half, so you have the front and back piece, and they buckle on here and here and here and here and here and here. Now, knowing that helps you design more cooler details to your armor, right? So now when you add this armor piece to her, the breastplate, you know, it has the, we're going to draw things over it too, but let's just go ahead and draw this in here. And for a female, we're going to make it look cooler, where it actually has, you know, some maybe metal coming like this, and maybe coming up like this, you know, and maybe there's some pieces like, so I don't know, just kind of making up as I go along here. Something like that. I don't know. Maybe it has two pieces like this, and then it has metal coming like this across like that, and it has little pivots. Now we know there's going to be a strap here, right? So that's a little piece of detail you can add. And there's going to be a strap here, and there might be one more strap down here. So these are like little details that you can add to your armor, and strap here and strap here. Now this isn't the overall armor we're going to design yet. I'm just kind of showing you how to apply these different pieces and how they fit together. We might, you know, angle this to be more feminine, angle it up like that. And this is the breastplate comes like that. So it's actually two different pieces. There's a piece in the front and a piece in the back, and they're buckling together. Right, so now you have the middle breastplate. And say, okay, cool. So now her breast is protected. You can put the other pauldron on her other arm over here, and you can make it smaller or bigger. It just depends on they don't both have to be the same size. One can be bigger than the other. It depends on what's their strong side, and what functionality. They want to be able to swing their arm easier. Um, their shield side might have a bigger pauldron because that's the side they're defending themselves with mostly, and then their attacking side, say her right arm, is going to be smaller. That way she can attack easier. Same principle applies to wrap around. It's going to come around the front, cover up the breastplate a little bit. And how it's going to fasten on is most likely going to fasten on underneath here, and then maybe underneath here with some leather, and then in the back as well. It's going to fasten somewhere like in this area here, maybe together with the other piece, so that kind of wraps around like one piece like that, and so it's connecting here. There might be some straps even here and here, connecting it on and keeping it together. But of course, when it comes to drawing in coolity, we can make up a word. It doesn't really matter. It's functionality doesn't matter much. It's like how does it look cool? And then you might have that one part talk about the fold, uh, and it's usually like four pieces, but it doesn't really matter. You can also make a belt type sash thing here that has it's metal and it wraps around and it's two pieces. It buckles here and it buckles here, so it's kind of similar to the breastplate, and it has one piece in the front, one piece in the back, and it buckles in two places, and that protects that area of the body. Then you would have your tassets. Your tassets might even connect here with straps or something like that, and then they're going to come off to the side here, and this is to protect the side of your legs. And so from the side of your leg, it's really protecting the whole side of your leg like this. It's not just protecting as it comes around this front around here. It's not just connecting like this, like that. So it's actually protecting the whole side of your leg and coming like this. So it's gonna be like boom, you have the whole side of your leg protected. It's trying to it's trying to be able to move around, but also have as much of your body as guarded as possible. And that's going to buckle here, and then also on the back side as it comes around, it's probably going to come around to that is the tasset is going to come around only part way, maybe around to about here, like that, and then it's going to have straps connecting across like this. Most likely because you need to be able to move around and have some sort of freedom of movement. And then you have the other part, which was I'm not sure how it's pronounced, the kosi, and that's going to come up here and have a metal piece that comes up like this, comes down. This is all metal, and you might even have like another metal design coming down like this. So this whole piece right here is all metal, and then when it wraps around the side, it'll all be metal. But when it comes to the back, this is where it's going to stop and have part of it's going to come down like this, probably right beneath the butt cheek, so you have movement, come across like this, and then come down, and then you're going to have leather straps coming across like this. So the inside of your legs are going to be vulnerable, but there's different styles and designs, and you can even think of your own designs. But that's kind of basically how that would work. All right, so we're just about done with understanding how to apply and put armor onto a figure. Then we're going to come and design. We're going to take the same thing, but we're going to design a completely different kind of cooler fantasy outfit on her. So then, of course, you have your helmet, and your helmet's going to fit over however you want it to. You can have some old school design here. All right, and it's just to protect. Its main purpose is to protect the head. Um, it comes out like this. So. And then the head would fit inside there. You can have this all just be dark coming down so you can't really see anything in there, make it look more mysterious. Of course, with the female, you probably don't want to cover a lot of her face. You kind of want her face to be visible. So these are things you have to think about like when you're designing a character. All right, so next thing we have is our gauntlets, which would be our gloves. And again, they can be designed different ways. They can be designed like mittens with each piece of metal going over the hand like this. That's one piece of metal, and then each one overlaps that or goes either underneath it or over it like this. And I'm not sure if you've ever seen those rings like I was talking about a second ago. They kind of come like this, and they have hinges underneath, and each of this goes over your fingers, and then there's metal straps and then other stretchy straps to go around your finger. And this allows you have usually like a long claw in the front here. It's kind of cool looking I used to own a couple like that. And they can make gloves like that too. And so it can be like that, or it can be a mitten like this. So it just depends on the style and how you want it to work. Or it can be like that other guy I showed you down here, where it's just covers your wrist and comes down to the wrist. And same thing with your greave. Your greave can actually go down to the ankle only, and you have a separate boot underneath that that has its own thing. Or the greave can be your whole entire boot itself, like this guy here. So just keep that in mind. And how that works, I think I kind of described it enough. Your gauntlet comes, it's full, it's a full piece. It could be a full piece of metal. It just depends on, if you can get your arm through it. So if it's a full piece of metal, it's going to stop probably here. It's going to come like this, have another big piece that comes around your arm. And that way it fits on your arm good, but then how is it going to strap to your arm? Like how is it just not going to fall off or get in the way? Then it has to connect hard to your glove and be one piece here so your whole greave has to be one piece, and this would be more mitten type, let's say, or even the other glove kind where you have each individual finger that has hinges coming down like this. And so that would keep this connected to your arm because it's inside the hand, inside the glove piece. But typically, how they're going to fit onto the arm, and also you can go in for cool factor. It doesn't matter how it fits on, right? Practicality can go out the window. People don't really pay attention to that when they're playing a video game or something. But in the other way, it's going to connect as if you had it to where it connects only part way, like I showed you over there, and it stops somewhere, and it comes down, and then it has leather straps like that as it comes around over here. So it has, it covers around a lot of the arm, so you can slip it off and on. And then you have that's how the glove would fit on, or the gauntlet would fit on. And then you have I guess the vambrace. So the vambrace, you have different parts of the vambrace. You have your lower part of the vambrace, which can be fit on your arm. So underneath your gauntlet, you can have another piece of material, and it can also be metal. And this can be metal, comes around like this. Let's say from the front end, all you see is metal, right? And that goes underneath the greave. But how it attaches to the arm, maybe even from the side view, it also does this. But from the back view, you can see that this piece of metal, when it comes around, it stops here and here. This way you can actually slip it off and on by kind of bending it a little bit. And then it has straps here and here. And you might have another thing underneath here that's like leather or also metal, and that's strapped on underneath separately as two different pieces. And so from the back side, if you were to have that back piece, you can't see it from the back side, but that's this leather piece or other metal piece. And then it's strapped on with straps like this, or maybe even twine, twining it on. And then you put your other metal piece on over that. So it's like two different layers. And that straps on in the back over here. So that's how that would work. And let's see here. You can also have your your guard of vambrace, or maybe call upper vambrace, or whatever you want to call it. This is the part that covers either your elbow and shoulder and a little bit of your upper arm. And then you can also have parts that fit in. You can either have chainmail that is fitting into your arm here, and this is all like, I'm just going to do it like this and call that chainmail. Or it can be, some kind of Kevlar if it's, if you have access to those cooler kind of materials, that kind of bulletproof materials, or it can be, leather. And then you can also have another piece similar to here on your upper arm here, and then between that, covering your elbow, you have this like big fancy piece, which just depends on. It can be a big fancy piece like this, and it comes down, and it has this kind of shape here, and then it kind of has like this coming together, and then this is coming out over here, and then down like this. And so this big piece of metal, which straps on to the if you see it from the back side, it would have like, straps, leather straps like this, holding it together as that metal piece comes around. And then it might have other similar, something like this in the back even, that has metal coming out like that. And then has a hinge here so that you can move your arm, and it also protects the back of your elbow. But usually it's just going to be strapped on. So it's going to come around. That big piece is going to come around around your arm like this, and then come around over here like so. And then it's going to kind of stop and have a fold here. That's the fold we see right here, like in the elbow area. And come back around the front, and then have like that point part. And then it's going to have facets, or not facets, but it's going to lock on right here like this and like this over here. And so that part is wrapping around the arm, but this part is open like here. It's not connected, so it's kind of wrap around and kind of stopping. And so this allows you to almost have like a shield on your arm there. You can just like deflect and block stuff. It's typically not seen in fantasy armor. I haven't seen it really, so it might not be something you're going to draw, but I just want to show that that can be there. Right, so now let's take this principle here with female armor, knowing how the different parts fit onto the figure, and go, okay, now how do we take that and design some cool armor? So I'm going to turn down this layer here, make a new layer. And actually, I'm also going to change the color, so I'm going to hit this lock transparency thing. Oh, that's right. And that's another course I was going to be coming out with. I forgot to mention soon is I'm going to be doing a course on a crash course on Manga Studio. So how to use Manga Studio. I personally like it better than Photoshop now. I think it's better for drawing. It's better for inking. It's better for painting. It's pretty much better for everything that applies to most stuff. The problem is in the art industry, Photoshop has become the industry standard. So you still have to learn Photoshop, most likely to get a job. You know, the job might let you work and do a lot of your work in Manga Studio and sketching, all that kind of stuff, but they might want you to save your files as a Photoshop file. So that's it's just industry standard. So, but as far as usability and how quick it is and everything, I love Manga Studio. It's so fast. This is awesome. Great, great, great software. Okay, so now we're just going to design this from the front view because we know how it fits on, how it wraps around. I only did those other views so we know how the pieces fit and how they wrap around the figure. And so now let's go ahead and start designing, something that's cool. So let's take some, Asian type flair and start adding some Asian flair onto her. So for her neck area, I'm going to kind of add this typical Asian flair. Actually, let's go ahead and see where her face is going to be. So her face is going to come like this. So, oops. Now we'll give her more of a pointy chin. Right, so that's where her face is going to fit into. Maybe give her bigger, kind of more slightly manga eyes. Her mouth will fit into that area there. Right, so then her hairline will be here and hair. All right, so now we're going to add her neck. And in this case, I'm going to add this kind of Asian flair thing that's going to wrap around the neck like this, come out and down. And instead of being, this is armor, so it has to be effective, right? If it was just leather, it might not be effective. You can still get your head chopped off with if all you have is leather on. So we're going to make this be ringlets of metal that have hinges. Or it can be Kevlar or whatever, kind of material exists within the world that you're creating. So something like that. And that kind of gives this, Asian look, right? Because we've seen this kind of look on Asian clothing. And then we can even maybe overlap and have one shoulder be like a really cool bulletproof kind of material that's going to come like this. And it's going to come over the breast a little bit and over the shoulder. And it's going to cover this whole entire part of the body right here in the arm. And we want it to be more sleek and slender, I think, because it is a female. And so I think, trying to think of her underlying anatomy here, and I want it to kind of follow along the anatomy a little bit. And this is going to kind of go around to the back side as well and come around the front like this. And maybe there'll even be a gem right here somewhere that's fitted into this. And this is some kind of Kevlar, or it could just be leather if you want it to be leather, if that's what your world's limited to. But I'm going to make my world where it has something like Kevlar, or some kind of super flexible material that's like leather, but it's, reflects like a metal. You can make up anything. It's like leather endowed with magical abilities, and therefore it can take a blow of a sword, something like that. You can add, cool designs to this, so it's not so simple. And they could be like either fabric designs, or they can be more designs of how metal would fit onto metal. And that's really where we have to get into, the different aspects of design of clothes and design and stuff like that. And really, this is, it's something that you can kind of learn a little bit about design, but for the most part, it's something that you have to just have in you. You kind of have to, you know, be a creative type designer. And so I'm just gonna add something like this for now. I might come back and change all of it or some of it. We got to start somewhere. So don't feel like I don't know what to draw. Just draw something. Put something in there for now to fill in the blank, and then you might come back to it later and and design something really cool. And for her arm, I can also keep it, to keep her slick and slender, I might design her arm as having something, very slender over her arm, like some kind of similar material to this right here. With this other side of her shoulder, I think I want to kind of show more of her shoulder here coming out. Let's kind of just design her arm here for a second and then come down. And let's see here. So one trick is you go from where her middle line here, her waist is, and that's how far down. And actually I should have made her waist probably a little bit higher. But the arm goes from here to here. That's how long the arm is, and the hand is down there. So once you know that, you know how far down it goes, you take from here to here and you divide it in half, and that gives you where your rib cage is going to be. The rib cage break is going to be here in that area, and then you have the sternum and stuff like that. So now I know about how far down I want my arms to go here on each side. That is the first section of the arm. The second section of the arm would be here. And you don't have to get so much detailed with your underdrawing with anatomy and stuff, because you're going to be adding stuff on top of it. So, first design your clothes on top of the mannequin, and then if you have anatomy showing, then go ahead and start drawing the anatomy in there. So with this shoulder here, I kind of want to maybe have a shoulder pad. This will be her side that she defends herself more with. So this is her attacking side. She's going to be right-handed. And so the side she's attacking with, she doesn't have to have as much protection. She needs more movement, freedom to move her sword around and attack, or staff, whatever, or spear, whatever her weapon is. She needs, freedom of movement with that arm. This arm, she doesn't need as much movement, because that's the arm she's going to be blocking with and putting up, either a shield or using her shoulder pad. So this is the side that we want a bigger shoulder pad on. That's more effective at blocking weaponry. And so maybe we'll come around like this and have it be a nice thick pad that it's obviously going to have some of the Kevlar type material and then some of the metal material as well, all kind of mixed together. By Kevlar, I'm referring to bulletproof material, or Kevlar, sorry. I don't know why I was saying it the other way. Kind of strange. And let's go ahead and have this, I'm going to go ahead and erase some of the stuff underneath. And again, you can even take, ideas from like Chinese buildings, and stuff like that, how they kind of peek together and stack up to design your armor. Like, I don't know if you've watched my other design video and how to come up with designs and stuff, but one of the designs I did is I mixed together, to generate ideas. It's actually my video called How to Generate Ideas, I think. And what I did is I came up with a really couple interesting characters, and it was like, think like Dodge Viper, a cat, and an elephant or something was one of them, I think. And to take those three concepts and take ideas from each one of them and make, some sort of creature or a person or armor, so you can take influences from an elephant and rhinoceroses and make armor with that, and then also kind of some Asian influence, and all kind of work it together, make some really cool stuff. I might even put a spike at the end here. I might decide to remove it later. That's not quite right though. It should come down more like that. So right? So that's kind of cool. And then something we need something for a breastplate, and we want something where you can't like stab into her heart, but you also kind of want to look cool. So it's really up to you, like how you're gonna design all this stuff. I'm gonna take this neck piece. I'm gonna kind of come down further here, and I'm gonna have a couple diagonal pieces like that. And these are the pieces that are protecting her neck region, so she can't get her head chopped off. And you can have some cool fancy gadget in here that looks cool, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just kind of keep it simple. I'm going to come down like this, and I want to keep it slick and slender as it comes down to about here. And then I can have her, that middle piece, I forget what it's called again. Let's go see here. I think I have these names somewhere on my computer. The fold of four lames is literally what it's called. But yeah, and we can either have it like that, like the typical traditional thing we saw before, or we can design our own, or we can come up, how can we make it look more sleek? How can we, maybe come off of with the female figure some? That's the main thing I'm looking at. When I design female armor, I'm like, how can I bring in a feminine figure where she has this kind of hourglass thing going on? How can I accentuate that with the armor? And so that's what I'm trying to do here. And so I'm going to come up right about here. I want to kind of come underneath the breast because I want the breast to actually show more than this piece here. And this piece is going to come up like this, and it's going to come down like this, and it's accentuate. I might cover this with other parts, but for now, it's going to come down and situate this whole shape of the figure like that. And then I'm going to have designs within it to make it look cool. So now I want the breast to really show forth here. And so something like this, but at the same time, I want it to look like armor. I don't want just like exposed breast, right? So how can I have my breast fit in here? They still look cool. Maybe they have seams right here. And this is really just to show the three-dimensionality of the breast. I'm having these seams in there. I can also have designs to show it. Maybe no seams at all and just have some designs, but maybe I can have one seam here and one seam here even like this, kind of like a tennis ball, how they have those seams. It's something we can relate to, and maybe have this be a slightly different color, and that shows that there's breasts there. And then you can maybe have spikes come off here, and maybe, let's see here, this piece here is going to have straps on it. Wrap it around the waist here. That way it's a way for it to fit on, and also it's a way to add detail. So, think about how stuff fits onto the body, and that can, help you figure out how to put more detail into your stuff. And then we're gonna have, we have to have another piece of material underneath there. Maybe it'll just be some sort of chainmail or something like that. I'm thinking I might want another piece of metal maybe coming around the breast right here on this end like that, and then maybe I'll have a spike coming up like this. So this allows, it's like more coverage for the breast, more protection, and, cool factor. Mainly the cool factor, that's what I'm going for. Maybe something like that, and then I come in, I can erase within here and kind of redesign that. Don't be afraid to, erase and go back and go, okay, I like that, I don't like it, change parts you like, take parts you don't like, just erase your baby, so to speak. You might spend a lot of time drawing something or thinking about something, but if it's not working, erase it, start over, do something different. And there's all kinds of designs we can do here. We can come down with some really intricate work of patterns, if you wanted to. Of course, you don't have to have you know, it just adds some level of detail, and you can maybe have some jewels embedded in here. Right, and part of this, again, like I said, part of this is probably going to be covered, and so I'm not really focusing too much on that part yet. I want to think of a way with the armor, with the tassets that we could, protect her sides here, but also kind of accentuate the largeness of the hips, maybe even more so than we could. And let's see here, we can have a belt type of thing, a sash, that's made of metal that protects it as well, serving as, this part that comes down with the typical, replacing this part of the armor here, right? Replacing this whole piece here. These are the tassets, and then this kind of part here. Forgot what it's called. Forgot what that part was called. Also, we can turn off our layer underneath just to see how it's looking so far. Right here we're kind of missing a lot of, detail and stuff. So I'm going to say that we have a shoulder pad that's kind of underneath here, and it continues. And, it's built of different pieces of metal. And maybe it comes and continues one more time here and comes out like that, wrapping around part of the arm and going around the back and attaching. I'm going to offset this to where it looks, I don't know, I think almost looks like kind of cool like bricks. And then this would all be underneath material, darker material. It's not really visible. The arms will probably be darker material as well. It could be chainmail or just Kevlar or whatever you want it to be, leather. Add some designs to it if you want to. And you can add different color schemes, and that's where you get more cool. You can get some really cool designs going. I think with the female, what looks kind of cool is when you have her, her gauntlet. I just want to make sure I didn't make the mistake I did last time and used the wrong word. Last time I called it greaves. And we can have it come up, maybe even come up high enough to kind of cover part of the elbow. Actually, with the battle side, that's not so important. Mainly it has to cover her wrist and arm, the side that she's swinging her weapon with. And we'll have this come down like this. So first, think of the basic shape first that you kind of want, and then come in and let's see here. So we know arm's going to come down to about, let me make sure I design this on her arm right. I want her arm, her forearm, to come down to about here, and that's when we're going to start having the hand. So fit it in this area here. Right, so yeah, I guess that works. So that can come up like this, come down buff. Maybe I want to have it come up that high. Maybe I'll have it come up like this. I don't know. And then have it cover part of the hand here, but still have functionality. So I want her to have a lot of functionality with this hand, because this is a hand she's going to be wielding around, so I don't want it to have too much, impede too much movement of her hand. So a lot of her hand is going to be visible. Actually, maybe even more of her hand than that. Not quite cover her knuckles, but cover a decent amount of her hand here to offer that protection. I still want to, be kind of sleek with it. I don't want to get too overly, buff. I kind of want to accentuate the woman figure still and make sure it's a woman under there. That's one thing I was really disappointed with Gears of War 3. I was like, ever since Gears of War, I'm like, why aren't women in this game? I want to be able to play a female. I like playing female characters. And I'm like, why isn't there, any female character in this game yet? And then when they finally came out with female characters, I was kind of disappointed. And some of them look pretty cool, but some of the women are just like, really, like the ones you play with on multiplayer online. It's like, man, that one main character though, that she was pretty cool. She had a nice, sexier type of outfit on. So, but I was disappointed in some of it. Some of it just wasn't as sexy. It was like big, buff, manly type uniform on a female. It just didn't, look sexy at all. It's like that's the whole point, right? If you have a female character with armor, I mean, shouldn't she be sexy? Right, and then I might have another, thing underneath here, or just have all this be like one, piece of material that It has some bends in it here, and maybe it's made out of Kevlar, maybe it's made out of leather. You might add designs to it where you have like a patch here and a patch here that's darker. And maybe you'll have like leather straps coming across, just showing that, hey, there's another level of armor right there on the arm. Right, like so. And then the glove, can be like a leather glove, a Kevlar glove, it can have leather, and then over the leather can have, other parts to it, the metal that comes off each part. I'm going to have it kind of be a sort of a side view. And then this finger kind of come out like this. Oops. And then maybe kind of see a little bit of that finger back there. And maybe a little bit of the pinky going back over there somewhere. And then over this, this was like where this is like really detailed stuff here, but maybe over the thumb, you have these kind of metal braces with hinges, each coming out like this. And then, this is like strapped on with straps here, strapped on here and here and here. And then you have another one that comes over the main knuckle here, and over this part here, and over that tip of the finger, you have leather straps. So this protects the top of the hand and makes it harder, to cut limbs, cut the hand off or lob fingers off. I'm not going to finish all that, but you get the idea. So yeah, now we're starting to get, I think, a pretty cool idea here. I'm not going to design the other hand. The other hand will be the same as this one. So just imagine that arm's the same. Maybe you can make it even more beefier because that's her defending side. And so you can even make this right here almost like a shield. You can like have this part that comes off her arm just be huge. You can even have it start way up here, even wrap around the arm like this, and then come out like this, and it's more like I don't know about that. Maybe kind of still match a little bit of it covers like most of the hand, let's say, and it comes back around like this. And so this one's like huge because this is the shield side. And it has a spike right here. And then her hand's just kind of partly coming out right here, not much. You see a little bit of it. And so that side's the side that, she's kind of using that whole arm thing as a shield, and maybe even has a strap on here, and it kind of has a shield like built right into it, maybe like boom, That's another idea you can go with. Or maybe she, holds her shield. But anyway. And, when you're dealing with a female character, you really got to decide, do you want to cover her face with a helmet, or do you want her to like have her face just open and she's just so awesome that she doesn't need her head covered because, she's fast and her head's never going to get hit. And so for that, you'd want to make her a fast character, right? So typically females are the fast characters like in video games and stuff like that. And, typically I'm trying to think, why would people want to learn how to design armor? And I figured before, concept design. And concept design is usually for video games or movies. That's the two main things, and maybe a comic book. But typically, if you're just a designer, that's your only job. You're just designing stuff. Once you design it, everyone else takes your designs and they run with it, and that's when they decide what's going to happen with your design. What with the background of the character and all that. All you're doing is come up with some cool designs. That's your job, let's say, as a concept artist. And I would imagine then the main thing that you're doing that for. Now, when I choose these is to learn for video games or movies. That's the two main things I can think of. I'm designing those curves to kind of fit the womanly figure underneath here. That kind of that kind of figure like that, and that's why I'm purposely designing it to look that way. All this right here is not perfect. It's not it doesn't really matter. When you're first designing it, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can come back and erase it, draw over it again. This is just you're thinking out the process. You're doing a lot of thinking in this stage here. And I'm thinking, her hips want to really come out here. This is the widest part of her legs, and they're going to come down like this. And so now I really want to think, well, how can I accentuate that look with the armor? And there's, all different kinds of things you can do with task sets. You can make task sets look all different kinds of ways. We can also have an undergarment here coming under here somewhere, And this is very popular in a lot of female characters. So they have this kind of undergarment here. And let's say ours is stiffer and it's more like Kevlar. So it's bulletproof, and it comes down and covers the middle part here, and that kind of accentuates that whole look. And then you might have all kinds of, this might just be cloth, whatever it is. Ours is stiffer, so and it just comes down. I'm just gonna stop the design there, and then I don't know what we can do. We can do some really fancy, elaborate type stuff in here with metal and drawings, and you can have it come down and be like a spear. There's all different kinds of things you can do with this, and maybe this is the sun, design, and like you can try to think about a background history. Do they have a certain worship, religious belief system, some sort of goddess or god, and you can try to figure out how you can add that into the design of your character. So that all adds uniqueness and background and story. And if you can do that, if you can add uniqueness and background and story, then you're doing something good. Right, so now we have that kind of cool slickness, and then you can just have, straps on our legs here if you wanted to. And so now our legs are kind of open, so it kind of has that sexy look to it. And then they have, that same black Kevlar material um, on the legs, and then you can maybe even add tassets to further accentuate the hips. And you can either have that come out by, tassets typically come out like this, come out like this, and then come up. So you can have them, kind of fit that feminine look. You might maybe disc would work better, because tassets don't always have to be shaped the same, right? So I know that's the main shape I'm going for. So what if I accentuate that with some kind of, disc thing that fits on here? Then I would erase everything underneath here because that's going over it. And I would actually have it wrap around the leg. So let's go ahead and erase a lot of this here. So this is going to come, think of it being three-dimensional. It's wrapping around the leg like that. Then it's coming out. I don't want it to come out that much. I want it to come out more here. That being the whitest part of the female figure. So I want to accentuate that part with this piece of armor. And then this would be like, the round piece, and maybe have a little spike right here. And then you can have some of the kind of designs maybe coming this way and this way, which would be either darker or lighter color. And I'm not making it perfect or anything like that, but this is coming up and around this way too, so I need to make sure it goes around that part of the body. Has a thickness to it here. Might not be able to see the thickness here, be able to see some of the shadow. Maybe have this part here. Be a piece of metal that's coming off. And you can do that for one side or both sides, that's up to you. And that could look pretty cool, I think. Again, this is wrapping around the leg, and so you want to when you come in this way, this is wrapping in and around the leg like that. And you would design it the same way. Probably want symmetry for the most part. Everything kind of be the same on both sides. Not always, but asymmetry can work good too with design. Have that strap underneath there. Maybe that could be even a utility strap or something that actually can hold magical potions or whatever. Depends what kind of character she is. And I might just do some cross hatching here to make it look like some kind of chainmail or whatever it is. Whatever the side it is. I'll think I'll go with more futuristic. I like that. Futuristic fantasy. So it might be Kevlar. And so that might make the hips a little too wide and, might have kind of ruined it maybe a little bit. And so at that point, if I feel like, I kind of went overboard with it, then I might come back, go back here. And even before I add it, I might, at different stages save what I've done and then come back and go, okay, so I know I like it so far, so just in case I mess it up, let's, stop here and then make another copy of her. And so that way, if I do mess up, I go overboard or something, I can easily tailor it back. And I don't know how far I want her legs to go here. So now she has, really exposed legs, but that's all right. She has no tassette. She's so awesome, she doesn't need it because she's a fast ninja-like character, so she needs light armor. And that's another thing. Think about the functionality of the character. What kind of character you're designing? You're designing a fast character. You're designing a beefy, armor character. Like a tank. And more of a tank-like character might be, more suited for a man. But you can make a girl be a tank. There's no reason why a girl can't be a tank. But she's gonna have to have some beefy armor on, or some kind of, shield mechanism, a virtual shield or magical shield or something like that. Right. So let's kind of come in and finish her up here. I'll use a smaller brush to do the eyes. I like always having, my characters looking off. Even if I'm just doing a simple like concept design, I don't know, I just like having my characters look off in one direction somewhere. I think it just looks cooler, so let's give it kind of a stern look here. Keep in mind eyebrows are typically closer together than the eyes are. I'm just going to keep something simple here for the nose. Give her kind of thick makeup. Maybe she's kind of an elfish character. This hair is a little too high. So I haven't really added any shading or anything to this drawing yet. It's just design aspect first. I like to design. When it comes to designing like something unique like armor, I like to come up with the design first, something that works and that fits the character. And then I'll think about, okay, how can I come in and, shade that to make it look cool. And I don't know, I'm still kind of debating on the character here. What kind of hair should she have? And that all comes down to, like, I think knowing your character. So having some sort of backstory for the character, which usually they'll supply you with. They're like, hey, this is the character, this is what they do, and then you have to like have the armor or whatever you're designing fit that character that they're giving you. You're working under boundaries. You don't have all this freedom to just like totally design a character from scratch. Sometimes you will, but most of the time, no. So maybe I'm thinking she has like top bangs here, but then she has like cooler hair, longer hair that comes out the back. But kind of shorter bangs. This is the back part of her hair here. I know that didn't put much thought into that. It's kind of just like, hey, generic. I can always, change that, change her features, and stuff like that. But so overall, I think we came up with something that looks pretty cool. I can always slim her down too if I don't like the how big her hips are, but yeah, I think it looks kind of sexy like that, and it kind of bounced out, and I kind of give her an hourglass figure with her armor and style, and so this is her defense side. I need to make that arm longer. That arm came out a lot shorter than this arm, and I didn't really realize that until after I was drawing it, and so one easy way to fix that, might as well show a cool trick here, is to take the bottom part of the arm, how long that's going to be, and just pull it down to where it's going to match the other side. And then we'll go back in and redraw some part of the arm here. And then like this, and so I have right. So there we have it. We have our character, and I'm thinking something about her. I don't know. I'm thinking this doesn't. Maybe her shoulders are a little too wide. So I'm thinking. So it's kind of look at even with armor on. I don't know. I could have probably slimmed that down a bit and maybe make her hips a little bit thinner as well. And so that's something you can always change. Nothing is, don't become attached to anything. Always be willing to go, okay, what works for the character? What can I do to make the character better? And so that's what I'm trying to think here, and I can kind of still kind of come out and have that, and then that being the widest part. Right, so I'm thinking maybe something like that looks a little bit cooler. And then there's still something I don't like. I think it's her hair and her face. There's something about it's not working for me. So I'm going to get rid of a lot of this. You might add like a diadem or some kind of, uh, trying to think what else you can add. Princess crown or something like that. I'm thinking it's this part here. This just doesn't look right. That's just, it's interfering with the slickness that I wanted to go for. So I'm going to have it just stop here and kind of come down like that. And that way I can still see the slickness of her. I'm thinking maybe her chin's just a little too big. And this is the problem with drawing so small. You want to like, this would be the basic sketch, and then maybe come in and so anyway, that would be like the basic sketch, and you come in and design the face to where it's bigger. And I still don't know what to do with the hair. I think I'm gonna make her eyebrows a little bit higher too. I'm just experimenting here, coming up with something that might be like kind of extravagant, but interesting hairstyle here. And I think my mind right now is subconsciously pulling a couple different Star Wars themes together here with hair. I'm pretty sure that's what just happened. I'm kind of adding just a little bit of form. Then I might have locks of hair that kind of spiral down right here. I always like that look. I think it looks pretty cool. Let's kind of make this more loose. This hair here. And maybe have a couple, even loose ends kind of flying back here. And maybe she even has like, I don't know, some kind of jewelry coming out here to the middle of her head. So now it's like, she's maybe of some higher order or something. And also what I've done is kind of added more of that Indian by having this little thing, this jewelry come around to her head. I've kind of accentuated that kind of dot in the middle of the forehead, which kind of reminds you of that Eastern flair, the India type thing. And that kind of strengthens the original concept that I had with the using India or Middle Eastern type motif here within the neck area. And so yeah. I think this is pretty cool. I think you know, and this is all live. You know, I didn't pre-record this and design it ahead of time or anything like that. I didn't premeditate or think of it. You know, I wanted to do it live for you guys right here. So I'm designing this live as I'm talking and as I'm recording this video. That way you can see the thought process that goes into designing armor, into designing fantasy armor. Right, so this video is already really long. It's already an hour and 20 minutes long, and I could, you know, go on more. There's a lot to this topic that can still be covered. And for example, with, you know, with doing more buffer milk type armor and character, but really it's taking these same principles as these basic pieces and distorting them and making them more extravagant and really going overboard. And so, like, for example, let's say we take this underdrawing here of her, and let's say we wanted to make a shoulder pad that's really kind of, I'll do this last thing and then in the video, and maybe if you guys want to see more on armor, just let me know. I do plan on eventually doing a course that will like cover a lot of different things. It'll cover, you know, how to like, design all kinds of armor and clothing, and how to I think that'll all be one course: how to design armor and all kinds of clothing and hats and this kind of thing. I don't know if that would all be one course or two separate courses. I'll have to see. And so when you design this arm here, so we have the arm coming down, and let's see, I'll draw on a new layer. Right, so this being the arm. And so when you design the shoulder piece, you can actually have it, you know, it's coming around, it's wrapped around the arm, and let's say it's stopping around here somewhere. And it has another piece here. And you know, you can have it stop right around there. And then it has another piece that comes like this. So you can really get it extravagant with this kind of stuff. It comes all the way down like that. And so now erase the underarm. You can have something like that. You know? So you can have this really, you can come up like that. You can actually have more spikes, so get rid of the that all together, and you can have a bunch of individual spikes that fit on here. Maybe one more little one right there. Right, so that's something you can do as well. So it's really just, you know, taking your imagination and really extending it and thinking of different things you can put together. And so one thing I'd recommend when you're designing armor is really like with my generating ideas type of thing. Take this knowledge of how to draw armor in its base, you know, how to add individual pieces, and then how to come up with cool armor like I did here is take inspiration from like 2 or 3 different sources. Make them random, even. So say one is going to be some kind of futuristic robot movie that you like iRobot or something. So go look at some, you know, movie stills of iRobot and get some inspiration from that. And then go, okay, now I'm gonna pick a part of the world, let's say the Mediterranean world or the African world. Look at some African type of old school, you know, priestess or priest type outfits they wear, and go, okay, cool, and incorporate that into your design of your armor. You know, you can come up with something really cool. You can take some Hawaiian type stuff and, you know, and mix that into like a more male armor. And in that case, you might, you know, have like something cool where he has like this big, maybe he has like these balls coming around as part of his armor, and he's got like this, you know, bigger lower body, and then he's got like some sort of, you know, sash thing that comes around like this, and then another sash that comes off, and this is like ropes and stuff that comes around, and this wraps around, and this says give it some movement to add some dynamicness to our drawing. And that's like one sash, and he has this other sash between his legs, and it's, you know, it's thick. He's got these big muscular legs right here, right? Comes down like this. He's this muscular, just huge character, you know, almost like a Hulk-like character. Maybe I'm even, you know, comes down like this and has a shape kind of like that. I don't know, right? And then He's got like this big massive body up here, big massive thing, little head. He's got big massive shoulders, his biceps, his arms come down, and so forth. So you can take this into and make it a really cool, kind of character with, some kind of cool armor, and maybe take some inspiration from different games like Street Fighter or something like that. I'm almost thinking of that one character in Street Fighter that has like the slower kind of guy, has all the, not the guy that has like the big thing going around here like this, Kuma, whatever his name is, but the older guy. I really like him. He's kind of fun to play with. But anyway, yeah. So you can have like these huge, massive like things like this, coming behind his head, and like it doesn't have hardly any neck, and you can design the armor like that. Maybe that's not the shape of his. You're kind of using a silhouette here, and maybe that's not the shape of his actual figure, but that's the shape of his armor. So maybe his figure is normal. He has his normal, bigger neck and normal trapezius, but he has this piece of armor that's coming behind that's protecting the back of his head. And it comes like that, so that way, people can't like shoot him in the back of the head or hit him in the back of the head. And so that's almost not like a turtle shell, but kind of similar idea, I guess, huh? And then that can have even like cool, you know, kind of design like that attached to it just for looks. But it's also serving a purpose to protect him. And you can have all kind of, this is when details is all coming into, details comes into having like bolts and straps and overlaying metal on top of metal. So you'd have like, when you're designing things like this, it's overlapping metal on top of metal. So here you have this other piece of metal that's going on top of metal, this other piece of metal that's on top of that, this other piece that's on top of that. Notice with her, I can add designs into it, or I can add pieces of metal going over things. So here I had this metal going over her breast underneath here, and then this piece of metal going over that again. You can, design things in that way. So if you're going to be designing like, I don't know, part of, let's say his breastplate in here, and he's going to have his, it's going to be shaped kind of like a person, but it's going to actually be armor. What kind of, if it's, you want it just all plain like that, just shaded, like shiny metal, or how can you design that to be more? You can have another piece of metal that sticks up a little bit higher. So it's not just a design. First, you start out and it's like a design, right? Like this. But now you're going to turn it into 3 dimensions. Now it's got this 3 dimensions to it. It's sticking up and it's higher. It's another piece of metal on top of a piece of metal. And then you might have, round type of, you'd have to shade it to make it look proper and round, but this is like a round piece that's embedded on top of it. And it has, ring coming around it where it embeds in, and maybe there's a bunch of little circles going around that, little beads or something that embeds it into it. Things like that to add more to it. I kind of don't like the way that design's working there, so maybe I'd have it where it kind of maybe flows and follows this idea of these muscles, and so it can come out like this and have a design like that. And this is going to be a piece of metal that's raised up higher. So it's a higher, raised up piece of metal sitting on top of the metal and embedded onto it. And that can add, so there's all different kinds of ways. You can overlap metal, so you can have, one piece of metal here overlapping another piece of metal like this. And then when you do that, you'd have the little bit of shadowing depending on which area the light's coming from. A little bit of shadow. I'm just kind of doing it sloppily, really quickly here to try to finish this up, and overlapping. And then on top of that, you can have other little designs. Little intricate designs that are either just painted on or actually raised up. It's up to you. And things like that. So all that starts adding more detail and levels to your armor. You can also add, other pieces and straps going over that. So he has another, coming around the shoulder here. He has this big strap coming, and it comes down here like this, and this is coming across, and so this adds a whole other level of detail. And then that can have, thickness and have designs on the side here, and then it can have some sort of intricate, pattern. Look up patterns like, medieval patterns. Look up India patterns, look at different clothing and stuff to get ideas for how different patterns work. And you can add different patterns to that. Now you're all of a sudden he starts looking more and more complex, and it starts coming together. So anyway, that's all for this free lesson. Hey, if you enjoy this, then I'm sure others will too. So if you have the time, go ahead and like it and then share it. I'm gonna put this is the first time I'm actually doing this. I'm actually gonna put in the description, I'm gonna put a link to my Facebook page for masterpaintingnow.com. Feel free to join that page and comment on it. What Master Painting page is for on Facebook is for everyone to share tutorials. They don't have to be my tutorials. Share tutorials from all over the place. They can be from YouTube, they can be from DeviantArt, they can be from anywhere. Just make them quality tutorials and just put them on the Facebook page there. And then hopefully there'll be some cool ones and people will like them and share them. And then, yeah, so anyway, just click on that Facebook page, it's Master Painting Now Facebook page, and then you can, that's a place where we can all like communicate together and try to help each other, like bounce ideas off each other. That's what I really want it to be. So if you guys can make the Facebook be that, that'd be awesome. What I would like to see it turn into is a community where we all help each other and bounce ideas off each other, going, hey, I'm working on this armor, or I'm working on this character and I just can't figure out what's wrong with it, and post up a picture of your character or a link to it, link to a video, whatever you want to do, and be like, I'm having trouble with this. Can you help me out? And then hopefully other people, us all together, this our huge community. We have 40,000. I have 40,000 or 41,000 subscribers now on this YouTube channel. If only like 10,000 of us, if only 1,000 of us were to go over to that Facebook page and sign up, then there's already I don't know how many are on the Facebook page now, but there's I think good 60 or more. But if only 1,000 of us went over there, imagine how powerful we can be if we all were active on that Facebook page and helping each other and posting comments. So feel free to get on there and share your artwork. Post your newest artwork that you're working on, works in progress, works already finished. Ask for, hey, can you comment on my art? I appreciate it, that kind of thing. I also have a page on DeviantArt called Tutorial Heaven that's really about sharing tutorials from DeviantArt. So if you want to join that as well, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna link all these into this video, the Tutorial Heaven, the Facebook page, and also my Twitter page. And then I'm also going to add that to my actual channel page. So if you just go to this channel, to the Learn to Draw channel on YouTube, that is, you're on this video, just click on my name and that'll take you to the channel. And on the channel, I'm going to go ahead and link to a bunch of stuff too. I'll link to the Facebook page. I'll link to the DeviantArt tutorial thing. I'll link to, of course, my website's already on there, and I'll link to the new Twitter thing that I've been doing. And so, I tweet about all kinds of stuff. I don't just tweet about art. Sometimes my video games will tweet for me, and because I got some new high score on my phone, some game on my phone, and stuff like that, like Eternity Warriors, I think that's what it's called. I've been playing that one. And sometimes it'll post on my regular Facebook page, not my Master Painting Now Facebook page. So yeah, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. Hey, if you did enjoy this video, do me a favor, share the crap out of it, because it's going to help other people too if you enjoyed it. All right, thanks.